I'm a Jaden Daniels fan. I think he's great. I think the kid's awesome. I was very critical last year of Dan Quinn's hiring and Cliff Kingsbury. And I have said that I don't see Washington being able to do what they did last year for a lot of reasons. I'm going to let y'all talk. I think the Washington Commanders are overrated going into this season. Anyone want to help explain why?
Yeah, like I said earlier, they don't have really any big hitters on defense. They have Bobby Wagner, they have Marshawn Lattimore, who are both very good, both Pro Bowlers. I mean, Bobby Wagner's a Hall of Famer, so yeah. But it's at the tail end of his career. They're kind of piecing together a defense, I feel like. They don't really have a future there, I don't think. I mean, they have Sanderstrill, who they got last year, 2 years ago. I can't remember. He's a solid DB. They're fine there. But overall, if you want to compete in the NFC with people like the Lions, teams like the Lions and the Cowboys, and then even the Eagles, who obviously they're a wrecking ball for everyone in the NFC. So I don't think they're competitive enough to stop these offenses that are being built. And I just think it's a giant problem for them, and I don't see them overcoming that.
Yeah, I mean, my other thing I would just add in, like I said, I hate to call a team lucky because you do have to win the game. But right. I think we could say maybe just two teams last year. The Commanders were very lucky, and the Giants were very unlucky. If you look at like point differential and the way those games ended, I would just say to that was the Commanders playing a much weaker schedule than the schedule they're playing this year. Obviously, you have to play the games you're dealt, but they're being dealt a much tougher schedule this year, and they're not going to sneak up on anybody. Last year they snuck up on people. I mean, especially the Bears, right? They snuck up on the Bears in that final game, that Hail Mary there. But they're not going to sneak up on anybody. People are going to be ready for them. And I I don't know that I see them going 12-5. They'll have a winning record, but I think I've read so many publications of people saying that they're Super Bowl or top 2 or 3 teams in the league. And that to me is the definition of overrated.
Yeah, I think that they're 5th or 6th in Super Bowl odds right now, according to Vegas.
Yeah, that's crazy.
Yeah,
crazy.
They're 7th. Well, they're projected by Fox to be 7th in the NFL, CBS 7th, and then NFL.com 6th. So consensus 6th, 7th, and betting 6th or 7th. Crazy. So
they could be third in their division.
Well, here's a thing that sticks to me. Like we've said this with the Texans, we saw the same thing a year ago, prior.
Right.
You get a young quarterback, you get a new coach. It's the perfect storm because no one has tape, no one has film. They don't know. Yep. We now have a lot of game footage. We understand the offense. I say I'm not a coach. Coaches understand, defense coordinators understand their offense now. They understand Jaden's tendencies. They have tape. This is a coach's league, always has been. And I believe now that they will see the tape, they will demise ways to break some of those easy plays, easy tendencies. You mentioned how many games they won. I was talking to someone in the office who was telling me, and I looked it up. Look at the number of losing quarterbacks that Washington faced last year. And I encourage our listeners, go back and look at their games and look at they had our backup. Like they had an awful lot of non-good quarterbacks that they won. And like you said, Tim, it was narrow margins at best. Couple that with the fact that we now have tape and defenses are going to understand how to scheme. I think that is worth a couple of losses. And I don't want to talk about we're talking about overrated. I don't want to talk about underrated yet. But like you said, they could finish third. They could finish. Hear me. This is where Commanders are going to start hating on us. They could finish on the bottom of the division. Anybody in our division could, in my opinion, to be fair. And we'll talk. Caleb, I know you got a hot underrated, but Josh, bring it home before we move on to the next team. Bring home the Washington.
I do have a lot of different things. You brought up Cliff Kingsbury. Obviously, he's the offense coordinator, not the head coach anymore. But you look at what he did as a head coach through college and the NFL. He's 35 wins to 40 losses in college, 19 out of 35 against higher level competition. So, not successful there. But then you look at the NFL, also not successful there, obviously getting fired. His career average between college and the NFL is 45% win rate. He might be good at quarterbacks, but he's also had a lot of talented quarterbacks. So you look at his quarterbacks through college. Case Keenum, Manziel, Mahomes, now Kyler in the NFL. He went back to college 2 years ago with Caleb Williams and Jaden Daniels. So is it that he's always had a high-level quarterback talent? or is it that he's really a quarterback whisperer? I don't know. There hasn't been really a gap year for us to know that story. But Caleb brought up the roster, and you look at their team, they're the oldest roster in the NFL right now with a 24-year-old quarterback. So that means Jayden Daniels 24, of course. Terry McLaurin will be 30. Deebo Samuel's 29. Zach Ertz 34. Eckler 30. Wagner 35. Luvu 29. Miller 36. Dietrich Wise 31. Lattimore 29. They have backup linebackers that are 36 and 31. They're old.
Yeah.
They're old. And when their starter old guy goes down, there's an even older guy behind him that is less experienced and less good, obviously. So I think it's good to celebrate Jayden Daniels' success. I think it's good to
100%.
be happy that your team is no longer in the dumpster, right? But we also need to have fair projections going forward because, like Tim said, they had one of the easier schedules last year. They played a lot of backups and rookie quarterbacks, respectively. Obviously, they had a rookie quarterback as well, but he had one of the better seasons of all time as a rookie. So looking forward, like you started off by saying, is we have to look at projecting them forward. And it's a lot of people will use the CJ Stroud Houston Texans comp where they got a lot of free agents. They got Stephon Diggs. Everyone wanted to go there, but their team still didn't produce at quite a high level like it did the previous year. And so I think that should be expected for this team, looking at how the roster is and how easy last year was set up for them.